Hello, I'm Oliver from Smokestack Sounds, and welcome to, let's call it the industry diary. This is where all the showcases, gear stuff, VSTs, industry talks, collaborations, and everything music industry related is gonna live on the Smokestack Sounds YouTube channel. We'll have some guests, some other faces appear. And this is the path I'll come usually for a run. So I cycle and then run, sort of once or twice a week to clear my head. It's very good. And these are the Twin Mountains outside Alarot, the village I live in. And the path goes right in between those. It's got very special energy. And I thought I'm going to say something here and there and start creating a bit of a hub and a community driven by kindness, artistry, awesome people, beautiful products. And I hope I can invite you along to this undertaking. And so, did I leave Spitfire to set up Smokestack Sounds? Let's roll it up from the beginning. Forgot my battery. Oh shit! New phone. It always happens. God damn it. Just maybe stay in the studio. No, I'm kidding. Don't stay in the studio. I'm even looking, to help my wife's business much more. She has a flower growing business. She's sort of touching soil and being outside. It's just the most wonderful thing. Guess I'm hitting my midlife crisis. That's why I'm doing this. No, but okay. I'm sitting here in the middle of a riverbed. Beautiful sort of river when it rains. So in the winter season, there's heavy rainfalls, and then this becomes like brings a lot of water with it. And it's fun for the kids to come here and throw rocks in it. But, usually it just comes all down from the mountain and it dries up within a few days. So that's why I can sit here in the middle of this river or stream bed, I guess. Okay, nice to have you here. First and foremost, thank you so much for subscribing, for all the curiosity about this new adventure. I mean, I couldn't have hoped for a better start. I mean, the kindness that everybody brings to the table, VI Control, KVR Audio, you guys, like loads of messages on Instagram, everywhere. There's just so much kindness and support around, and that's for me, that's everything. That's how we should operate, sharing, being kind, picking each other up, and this is what sort of Smokestack Sounds is going to be about. And I hope I can pick up a lot of cool people along the way, and already, the people that have bought the first products, that, made videos. Dan Tremblay, fantastic support, went away, sent me a video, uploaded a video, I believe on the second day after our first product release, and I couldn't believe it, and then showed it to my wife, and I was just, it's so much enthusiasm around this adventure. And, Felipe, Marius, close collaborators, and I really hope we can, sort of grow this team of collaborators and, share the cake among several people and artists and musicians. And, because I guess it's correct to say it's hard times. I don't know whether I'm feeling this as a father of young kids and approaching 40. But I think generally the industry is very fast moving. There's, AI, there's, the native instrument story. It's not easy, to sort of make a living as an artist and as a sort of starting out companies and being self-employed as composers and producers. So yeah, this channel shall be sort of where we can talk amongst each other and help each other and just share our adventures and really sort of motivate each other. And to make a start of how this came about, it's probably wise to quickly introduce myself so you know who I am. So I had a very wholesome upbringing in Switzerland. I'm from a small city, or for you Americans, it's probably a town. It's got about 70,000 people living there, called Lucerne. A beautiful Swiss city, typical, you know, on the lake, wooden bridges. You can see the snowy mountains, the Alps behind the lake, and it's everything works perfectly. You know, there's cheese, there's chocolate, there's watches. So very picturesque and out of a storybook. And I grew up on the edge of that city, right next to a forest, and very wholesome upbringing, all the time outside. Made lovely friends. I was playing with kids all the time. I was obsessed with playing football, or soccer for you Americans, and that was my life. And we had to choose an instrument when we were, I don't know, about 8, 9, or 10 maybe. And the recorder was sort of the number one recommendation. But already then I was like, nah, I don't want anything to do with that instrument. And I chose the piano. I think I heard my neighbor playing the piano or something. It came from sort of nowhere, that interest of playing the piano. And I had this Hungarian classical teacher who slapped me across the hands and pinched my back, you know, to have a good posture. And so it wasn't a very good start with sort of music, and so I kept being obsessed with football, and my parents had to say, oh, come on, you need a bit of a balance, just practice a little bit. When I was about 12, it's my sort of hallelujah moment with music. And that was the film Forrest Gump. Alan Silvestri, yes, beautiful score, but it wasn't that captured my attention. It was The Doors, Jimi Hendrix, Creedence, and all of that music. It sort of sounded familiar. And then I realized that was the music my dad was listening to. And so when I asked him, hey, Dad, what's this music in this film? I really love this. Sort of he proudly opened his cupboard to his huge vinyl collection. And he let me his old vinyl player, and just granted me access to all of this. And from there on, I was like in my own world. And I listened to The Doors. I learned all the Doors, Raymond Sarrek's parts on the keyboard, you know, left-hand bass, right-hand melody. And sometimes he was singing when Jim Morrison was too drunk to sing. I mean, absolute utter genius. And I learned all his parts, and sort of I got quite passionate about that. I changed my piano teacher, a guy called Jimmy Muff, a really cool guy, was into blues and jazz and taught me all of this stuff. I learned Born to Move, organ solo from the Creedence. And, you know, I was just more sort of on the piano, practicing and discovering the love for music, and listening to The Doors, The Animals, you know, Eric Burdon and The Animals. And I had a bad injury on my knees when I was 17, ligaments broken, meniscus broken and everything, sort of, you know, 5 surgeries in between both knees. And that sort of kept me on the piano and really changed my direction. I went to study jazz. I worked sort of part-time jobs in Switzerland. Oh, one thing I've got to set straight, which wherever I go in the world, and I'm like, from Switzerland, you can see sort of people change their eyes into dollar signs. You know, it's like not everybody from Switzerland is rich. We had a very normal middle-class upbringing. What it is, though, is that being Swiss and in Switzerland is a very rich sort of security system. So whenever something happens to you, you're never sort of lost. You know, there is enough jobless money. When you're ill, you get support. You know, so you never land on the street or without, you know, sort of the basic sort of needs. People in Switzerland take that for granted because it's not everywhere like that in the world. And so, yes, that is sort of a very rich sort of system, you know. But all my friends, I didn't have sort of rich friends. I mean, we grow up in flats, in small flats, and we go out into the mountains. A little bit like here, the Mallorquines have a similar sort of lifestyle. And so, yeah, just to set the record straight. So I always had to support myself, having side jobs, you know, like cleaning chimneys. I worked in factories. I remember cleaning, you know, old factories when there was an accident. I was part of the cleaning crew who had to go and like you're knee deep in sort of burnt oil and cleaning the stuff out. But it was good for my sort of development. It was absolutely fantastic. And when I was 20, I moved to England, to Brighton. I thought I landed in paradise because everybody was sort of dressing like me. Everybody had a different music taste. People knew who the Doors were and all of that. And apart from my dad, obviously, you know, and some couple of close friends in Switzerland. But yeah, you know, straight on, I wanted to be a rock star, and I played in loads of bands in Brighton. We toured a bit, and
It was fun for quite some time, did loads of things that you probably shouldn't do. Yeah, after like 4 or 5 years, I think I got tired of it and I wanted to change of, a new challenge. I got tired a little bit of the Brighton weather as well. And I applied for Berklee College of Music. Had never done music with the computer, had never sort of produced. I was a performer. I was only playing organ, Wurlitzer, through an amp, like, God forbid, like touching a computer to make music. That's so lame, I thought that's like seeing a computer on stage. I was like, oh God, what's this person doing? And, that's only 15 years ago. Imagine how fast our world works nowadays, our industry. And so I produced 3 scores, basically. I remember I layered like 4 single cellos and some violin, and I doubled them and I panned them differently. I recreated an orchestra sort of, like with my basic knowledge. And I had an old piano in my flat that I recorded just a very raw, bare kind of a piano recording for my friend's student film. And I got in by surprise, I went there and all of these people from Royal College of Music were there, and Russian College of Music, and all of these trained, studied musicians, like fantastic people. We're still in touch, It's that year sort of changed everything. And I recorded in studios. I learned Pro Tools and Ableton and DP and all of these platforms. And then we went to London, and I wasn't really aware actually of Spitfire or any sample library companies at all. My plan was still to go back to play in bands, maybe pick up a little bit of work as a sort of film and media composer. And there, when we went to London, we visited Spitfire Audio, and then there was this sort of extroverted, funky guy telling his story about writing porn music and setting up a sample library company. And we walked around, and everything was sort of shouting taste, everything smelled right, the colors were right, the right pick. It was super cool. And it's like, okay, wow, so people make a living in music doing sort of, coming to work to a studio and stuff, and you don't have to get drunk and play, on stages for very little money and sleep on people's floor. And so I was like, man, that could be a cool thing, Didn't really think further, and when I came back to London, after I studied, I ran out of money quite quickly, and I went to this tune-up festival, which was a music production festival. And there I recognized Christian, which was this extroverted guy that wrote porn music. I was like, okay, this guy is here, so he must be sort of very active in the industry. I went up to him in the break, and he sort of recognized me, he said, from the studio visit. And I just bluntly asked, man, it's hard, can't find work and stuff. Do you have anything? He sort of paused and was like, yeah, you know what? Send me an email, And so I sent him an email, and sort of the rest is history. I became his assistant for a year. I started to release my own music on the side. I worked with interesting composers, Sam Sim, Ben Onono, did some BBC documentaries and things like that. And I grew with Spitfire, Spitfire grew massively, very fast. Community grew. We started making videos on YouTube. We had events, and already there I got so much support. It was really such a beautiful adventure, and I was so proud and so inspired by Christian and by Paul. And we were 7 sort of, when I started in 2014, we were 7 people, and everybody was a musician, and it was organic, and no one had a title or a role. We went to get drunk and ate pizza at Lord Stanley's, a pub in London, every Friday. And then we went back to work, and we did this trip to Anaheim, to LA. And we were all sort of treated like a bunch of friends. It was really, really beautiful. And everybody's heart was in it to make this happen and to make this grow. And, the community was supportive again. And, I think, and then everybody sort of know what happened there after COVID, but from the inside, things started to change much earlier, and this is just sort of how I want to do this differently. It's like, when money comes in, things change, this is all the time like that. People sort of chase money or have these dreams with money, and then it's never what you hope for, it sort of changes your thinking. It changes how you sort of treat people. It changes who you interact with and how you interact. And so it became quite quickly a very corporate sort of thing, where the goal shifted, to be making money for someone, you know. And so the thing is, I think, yes, we need to keep the lights on as well. Like, I prioritize things as well to keep my family fed, to pay the school fees and all of that. And you need to make certain decisions. We all do. We got to eat, you know. But I think the main thing I would say is, let's not eat each other. I think, you know, let's not stand on top of each other, because I think that doesn't create a nice sort of environment, you know. And yeah, obviously it became a different kind of thing, and I have nothing to complain really, because I was always treated with a lot of respect and a lot of sort of I was allowed to live in Amsterdam and live there and do this and do that, and I felt I gave back to the community and to the company. And so eventually I sort of felt that things are shifting. You know, you kind of feel these things. And so I was like, I need to, you know, be more in my composing work, gear this up. You know, I was talking to my agent, seeing whether I can assist people, just moving around, taking a lot more meetings. And I was working a lot in the advertisement industry via like Massive Music and other agencies. So I was pitching demos, and here and there I won. And that industry, God, that industry is, you know, I don't know, I'm so sure some of you do these things as well. So you pitch for like 300 euros. And when you win, it's like, yes, you've done the advert for BMW. It's being licensed internationally for a year. You get 2,000 euros. Congratulations. Well done. Do you know how much an advert like that used to pay? Maybe not so much anymore. We're talking about hundreds of thousands. And so you'd write the music and create a sonic signature and get this. And so I was like, I'm going to set up my own company and try to work directly, you know, with a marketing agency. So I set up Smokestack Music as like a collaborative music production house, you know, and a composer collective. And I also was like, you know, when we get the thing, we do 50-50. Composer 50-50, the agency 50-50, and sort of everybody's sort of happy and gets a bit of the cake. You know, the business-minded people might say, oh, that's not feasible business-wise. But, you know, yes, we need to grow, but why do we need to outgrow others? You know, there's also things online saying, yeah, you need to work harder than others, so you're more successful than others. I think we need to share, man. It's like we're teaching our kids to share, to be kind, and, you know, looking out for each other. But then along the way somewhere we lose that stuff, and we're like, you need to outgrow the others. If you don't get up at 5 a.m., you're not going to work harder than your peer. But I just don't believe in that philosophy. You know, I think we need to look out for each other. Obviously, we have to survive ourselves first, again, but I think we need to look out for each other. So that's the first thing I set up, Smokestack Music. And I had no idea I was going to set up a sample library company. God, no. I was sort of like becoming a little bit tired of the industry. I was like, I want to do something else, you know? And so when Spitfire and I parted ways, I needed a break. I was focusing on Smokestack Music, doing some client outreach and stuff. And it's true, Felipe reminded me the other day when we did the Shoe Factory library, which was the last collaboration I did. So just after Spitfire and I stopped our employee engagement, I was still working on the Shoe Factory library with them. So it was sort of a friendly kind of departure. And Felipe did tell me that I had mentioned when we made the Shoe Factory library, saying like, hey, we should do this again, but not really thinking much more, you know, because I like capturing a vibe recording an album session and then attaching a bit of a sampling session on the back. Not deep sampling. I mean, no real musician kind of likes deep sampling things. Sometimes I felt so bad. You know, when we went in sessions, it's like creating like 7 round robins and 15 dynamics. These poor musicians being there, you know. So I'm trying to also make it fun for the musicians, you know, because all the tools are here. I think it's about capturing a vibe, you know, lifting another artist, saying this artist worked 20 years on these sounds. Hey, you can use them now, you know. So it's like a, you know, sort of a band camp with a bit of a gate, you know. And so I finished the Shoe Factory library, and I then had an intern called Marius. He reached out to me, and this is also great to get work. It's just reaching out to people, asking, being kind, you know, put yourself out there without asking too much about work. It's more like how can you enhance the other person's sort of workflow and being, and enrich sort of their presence, I guess, with your presence. And Marius came to my studio, and we always recorded stuff at the end of the day. We jammed together, and he was curious about sampling, and he told me that he was dabbling in programming in Contact. And so we sampled his guitar. I was just showing him simply, hey, we could, this is how you'd sample stuff. And he went away and started building something, and I played it, and I pulled out like just a Shutterstock video with some clouds moving and the sun coming through, and I played along, added some more reverb, and I was like, wow, I was like, this could be a trailer for something. Let's just release this. And then I went a step further. I was like, man, imagine you could move these clouds now and they would change the sound. We just create something much more emotive around it, much more sort of, with the feelings and with cute little pictures and he was up for it. And so he went away again and created this quirky looking interface that we have now on Cloud Guitar. And I was like, we gotta have a home for this. And I sort of used my Smokestack Music business setup that I have. And so I've now attached Smokestack Sounds. I reached out to Felipe, explained to him the whole thing, and he was enthusiastic. And, I went up to Iceland to see my good friend Snorri, and I saw the Northern Lights like in an amazing way. And he said, even himself, like this is very rare. It's that sort of pronounced and that sort of strong. And I was like, yeah, like if you could move the Northern Lights and it makes sound, imagine, that'd be amazing. And so Felipe also sort of went away and put some sort of temporary sounds on there, and I was like, no, we gotta record the sounds. And he went and created this village and sent it to me. I was like, what's this? This looks beautiful. What's this? But how he was like, what do you want to do with it? And I was like, maybe turn the lights on in the houses. And he was like, go ahead, try it. So fade the light up, and when you play, that's a layer being faded up of sound, and it blew my mind. I was like, holy shit. And the Aurora Borealis came, and it's just sort of dancing, and and I said, let me work on the sounds, and another couple of weeks went by, or 3 weeks, and we had a meeting, and I didn't get to do the sounds because I was preparing other stuff. And he was like, hey, I made the sounds, and by the way, do the mod wheel. And I played the sounds and beautifully recorded Colegno Tratto, some shorts with the flutes, and absolutely stunning. And I moved the mod wheel, and the Christmas lights turned on, and I was like, wow. And this was sort of in November, and I was like, we gotta release this on Christmas. This is so beautiful, Christmassy. Put massive stress on myself, my family. It wasn't really nice to be around around myself in December, and so. Because I was staying up day and night to set up the shop, to create everything and make these videos, and as well, Felipe and Marius, everybody worked sort of at maximum speed possible. And so that is sort of the birth story of Smokestack Sounds. And so, no, I didn't plan to set up Smokestack Sounds from Spitfire. Obviously, it has everything to do with it because I collected 10 years of industry experience and was right at the hub of creating libraries. And I also thought I need to, use my name because I worked hard to make these videos with Spitfire, to create demos, to create libraries, and I thought I can't throw this away, and it was proven right, because the love I'm receiving from all the collaborators, from all the people, from other sample library creators, Westwood, Emergence, Audio Imperial. I jumped on so many meetings and got to talk to everybody, and everybody is so kind and so nice. A lot of people have their hearts on the right spots, to do this for love, to do this to support a small team, to support their families. And I think that's what it is. It's not always about growing, and becoming the most successful in whatever you do. I don't think it's a very healthy mindset. I try to teach that. It's so funny. I try to teach that to my daughter. She's very self-critical and gets very quickly upset with herself if things aren't perfect. And I was a little bit like that as well. And it's not a good personal trait, because you're constantly under pressure, constantly stressed. Just be happy with what there is. Appreciate what there is. Look out for others. Is this person, feeling good? Are my actions influencing this person? And there's too many people that don't give a damn how the other person feels according to their action. And this is not the place for that. This is the place where we're kind. Simeon from Praise Tracks, I want to say on the live stream, fantastic, human being, and so much love and inspiration in this industry. And I learned so much from Spitfire, I learned so much from Christian and Paul, extremely kind and supportive people throughout. And so I think that's pretty much it. And thank you again for further support. Sorry this has become a bit long, but the ones, if you're still here, thank you so much for staying on. And I think this is going to be fantastic. I mean, to name drop a few things, I mean, one of our first customer was a very famous pop star all over Netflix at the moment. His name might start with G and surname with B, and might have been in a very famous boy band. And he sent me some very encouraging words. And if you out there have some encouraging words, like, just say it to everybody, leave a nice comment. Not for me, I'm saying for everybody else, for other artists, other YouTubers, other developers, other artists, just always think, how is it going to make these people feel, when I do certain things? And would I like it if that happened to me, And so, I'm going to look out for more artists, more collaborators, coders, developers. If you have an interesting sound that you want sampled or that you can sample and we can collaborate together, let's do it. Let's release it. Let's make something unique, something special, something that makes us proud. And for demo and video content, I'm only just starting up. We're a little bit tight, with certain resources, but, get involved early. We see it with Dan and I, we talk frequently, and something will come out of it, I'm sure. And we have to be patient, and that's about it from my side for the moment. I talked a lot. I want to hear your voices. I want to hear your comments, and I wish you a very happy end of the winter or summer, I guess, if you're on the other side of the planet. And let's be in touch. Sending lots of love. Bye. Holy cow, was I talking for a long time?